Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to the e-NABLE Town Hall meeting for what is today, May 13th, Friday the 13th, 2016. I'm Justine Diamond, your host for this week's meeting. So this week, I changed my computer setup to help with some sound issues I was having, and even after testing it, I logged on to find I can't use my camera. So I did have some things to show, but I'll have to do that next week. Anyway, Town Hall is a weekly meeting held as a Google Hangout on air. At Town Hall, team leads, community members, and foundation members are able to update the community on what's been happening during the week and what's been going on and what's coming up. We encourage you to ask questions of any of our speakers. The easiest way to do that is through the Q&A feature that's actually inherent to Hangouts. You'll find the Q&A at the upper right-hand corner of your screen if you click on the little grid of 9 boxes. If you're watching on some devices or on a phone, an iPad, you probably can't access the Q&A. Questions can be posted to the event post for this event. We do try to monitor both as we go on. When we can't get to those additional questions, I try to address them either in the minutes or in a comment on the post itself. Town Hall, of course, is about the e-NABLE community. So I read through the community, I attend the R&D Hangouts and some other Hangouts, and that's where I find members of the community who are doing some really cool things. Sometimes I'll find out from a Facebook post or from a newspaper article, but of course the best source of information on what people in the community are doing is the community itself. So if there's something you'd like to share with the community at an upcoming town hall, or if there's something you think we should spotlight, please let me know. You can email me at events.enable@gmail.com. You can always just send me a message through the community. And as a matter of fact, it was reading through the community that I found out that Thierry with e-NABLE France had done a build event with the School of Brussels. But I just saw that today, so it's not enough time to get any information from him about that event. There's a short post in the community. I'm always interested in school build events in particular. There was another post about one that Chris Duckett did. You may remember Chris Duckett was in Town Hall a couple of weeks ago with his students. They did a really fabulous project where the students broke into groups. Each group built a different hand, and they were able to very eloquently discuss the challenges of the challenges of building each hand and how they felt about that. We are hoping that Chris and his students will be joining us again next week. I just have to confirm that with him. We've got some events coming up. Next week is the Maker Faire, the Bay Area Maker Faire, and John Wong is heading that up. If you're in the Bay Area, you should go and check that out. You can email him at gotwong.gmail.com if you can help him with staffing. We've got, as you may know, the foundation partnered with GrabCAD in April to challenge designers to come up with a terminal device that's compatible with the International Red Cross prosthetic socket. The deadline for that has been extended, and in a little bit I'll be turning this over to Paulina, who's joining us from GrabCAD to talk about that. We've also extended the deadline on our sport-specific terminal challenge device, so if you were interested in doing something for that, by all means, there's still lots of time to submit a design. We've extended that to the end of July, particularly because we had some schools who were running summer programs contact us and say they were interested in having students work on that as a project. So they were going to submit them anyway. And I'm sorry, Rich, I just got a pop-up message. They want to submit them. They would have submitted them anyway, but we decided to extend the deadline so that they could incorporate their designs. There was, I believe, last weekend, Skip can correct me if I'm wrong, a big event at RIT called Imagine RIT, where the Magic Lab had an e-NABLE event that people could come and see and build hands for. I'm hoping to get Jade to see if she can come in and talk about how that went. Apparently it was pretty successful. And then also, if you looked in the community, John Diamond posted a tutorial for the different logos you may have noticed for some of the hands that John and I have done, and arms for different events. We have customized them with logos. We've done a Wonder Woman one. We did a library one. We did a bunch of different ones. And he's put up a video about how exactly to do that. Anyway, moving on to talk about the GrabCAD challenge, I have Paulina Perepelkin here. She is with GrabCAD. She's the one who approached us about doing this project. And Paulina, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Justine. So we're very excited to be hosting the challenge with the e-NABLE Foundation for the modular prosthetic terminal device. There have been already a number of fantastic entries, but we decided to extend the deadline for the challenge because, first of all, it's very exciting for our community to have a challenge where we are able to work on problems that really benefit humanity. So often we have challenges hosted by industry leaders. We work, for example, on an airline bracket, or we're working on automotive parts. But this is something that really, I think, touches people and gives them an opportunity to contribute to a wonderful community that is the e-NABLE Foundation. And we really wanted to extend the deadline and to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to enter. So right now, the prize pool is very exciting for us as well. There is the e-NABLE Community Foundation is offering 3,400 in prizes for top 5 winners. We can also probably will include some GrabCAD swag for some of the finalists. So that will be exciting. And we are very interested in seeing ourselves how well the arms will be 3D printed. So next week, we will actually be selecting few entries and printing them here in our GrabCAD office to see how well they function. So that's something I definitely will be sharing on social media and with the community. Yeah, looking forward to seeing more exciting entries, definitely.
I think it's really exciting. I think right now there are something like 28 designs that have been submitted. So we will put a link to the GrabCAD challenge in the minutes for this meeting, and you can check it out. You're also welcome to join the GrabCAD community, which I believe, because I think you have to be a member to comment. And the way GrabCAD challenges work, a lot of what happens is that people comment on designs, and there's a lot of period for that. So please feel free to join in, log on there, and make comments on the.
Yeah, and the comments are really important, I think, for making this for making the design process a conversation, really, between the different designers, between the different perspectives, and well, e-NABLE Foundation, who really understands the problem. So the more questions we have, the more comments we have, the better I think everybody is able to continue iterate their designs and perfect it to make it something really usable. So we strongly encourage comments and feedback on all the models submitted. So if you have a chance to do that, please do. And of course, GrabCAD is free to join. You retain, you're able to, if you choose so, you can withdraw your design until the last moment, but you can submit as many different versions as you'd like to the competition. Of course, only one version can win, but we do encourage everybody to continue working on their design until the deadline.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Okay. Moving on, we'll move to some of our education updates. Before I pass this over to Rich and to Joe, I'd just like to do a brief update on the post-secondary and the internship update. So the ECF program, we have funded 3 projects, and we posted about that to the community. And just today or last night, Eric Bubar at Marymount University posted some information about some of the what work that's going to be done by his intern, and I am looking forward to hearing from our other investigators and our other interns as well. And as well, you may have seen we have an additional 3 intern projects that have been funded very generously with the help of the Autodesk Foundation. And I've done a very brief update in the community on what those 3 are, and we will have more information on them. And as well, we're hoping that those interns will join on. We're going to be doing intern hangouts probably weekly during the summer to make sure that we can update everyone on what's happening there. And I think that will be a great opportunity to see how this process goes with these projects. So I'm going to pass this over to Rich, who heads up all the E3 STEAM stuff. Hi, Rich, you're muted. There you go.
Great. Thanks, Justine, and hi, everybody. So I thought today, in the past few times that I've presented at the town hall, I have focused on other things that are going on in the community, but I thought today I would give just a brief smorgasbord of some of the things that have been going on here at the school that I work at. I'm trying to use my students as guinea pigs and kind of a proving ground for different educational tracks that e-NABLE can take. So I thought I would just do a quick overview of, I have a number of different kind of cool things that have been happening, and hopefully if there are educators that are watching or anybody else, if you want a little more information about any of these, you could certainly reach out to me and I would be happy to share those with you. So you should be able to see my screen, I hope, is that right? I often hear from teachers that beyond the actual building of hands for recipients, they sometimes get a little stuck in terms of the types of things that they can do with e-NABLE. And I thought I would just show a couple of things that I've been having my students do over the past couple of months that are certainly part of the educational initiative that we're doing, not necessarily tied to specifically building hands for recipients, but deep educational experiences anyway. So my students presented there, the slide that you can see there, there was a great conference in Cambridge, Massachusetts called the Digital Fabrication Conference, or the DigiFab Con, and we had a chance to put some 8th graders in front of folks that were coming through the conference to talk about what e-NABLE is, but also to talk about their specific work and the hands that they were building. Just an awesome night. We had a chance to conference a little bit with Andreas Bastian, who was also presenting at that conference. And I really encourage any schools that have kids that are doing e-NABLE projects to get their students out in the capacity of educating their community and also educating out of the school. So we've done a number of these out-of-school education campaigns recently that have been super successful, so I just wanted to share that one with you. We had a really interesting thing at our school about 2 weeks ago. We had Grandparents' Day, and we had our students teaching their grandparents how to design with Tinkercad. Quite a paradigm shift for some of the grandparents, but at the end of the day, we had most of them being able to do some actual great little designs on Tinkercad, and certainly the e-NABLE hands that our kids have been building were a nice opportunity to get the parents to see the authentic work that it's possible to do with a 3D printer. So some classic shots there. I have an upcoming project that I'm running with my students in 2 weeks where we are going to take 1 week, and we have the luxury at our school of doing a 1 week intensive experiential ed program. We call it Steep Week, as in steep, teabag steeping. We've decided that we're going to be doing an all-girl authentic design week, and although you don't see it on this slide, the e-NABLE hands form a very important part of this at the start of the week, where we have our students designing not only aesthetic designs to the hands, but also some of the tool adapter clips that we've been seeing put out by Seattle Pacific University and Adam Arabian. We have our girls are going to be doing some actual designing of clips specific to different activities at our school, whether they're music activities like bow, to be able to bow a violin, or sports activities like being able to hold a hockey stick or a floor hockey stick or a lacrosse stick. Once we've got our kids trained on the actual designing for purpose, then we're actually going to a seniors residence in our community where our students will be interviewing the seniors and then talking to them about possible things in their life that our kids can do some designing. And what I'm often trying to do with schools is encourage them to use and enable, certainly to get a 3D printing program started at their school. But once they have their kids engaged and hooked, there are so many things that they could be doing, including community design and global design work. And so we're going to try and pilot this with the hope of working through some of the bugs and developing a full Designing for Purpose program next year. So I can share more with that a little bit down the road. This morning I had the great privilege of speaking with a young woman by the name of Maddie Bishop Van Horn. And Maddie's a student at Tulane University, and she is going to be actually in Kigali working with Engineering World Health. And we were able to connect her with a school in Kigali. And so Maddie's going to spend a couple of days at the Fawe School in Kigali, Rwanda, and she's going to teach them how to 3D print. They've just recently had a MakerBot donated to them. So she's going to go in there, and this was an actual partnership that we had going. We've had it for the last 5 years, but only recently we've been able to incorporate 3D printing into it as well. And there's just a little shot there of one of my students showing a small little water turbine that he developed, and just the ability to use 3D printing, but also the e-NABLE projects to allow students around the world to have deep and meaningful partnerships and collaborations, especially if you have the great fortune of having somebody on the ground who will be able to navigate that. So we certainly have that with Maddie, so that's going to be exciting. And in addition to some of the things that I actually have my own students doing, we've had some really nice coverage of the E3 STEAM recently. I wrote a blog for the Buck Institute for Education. The BIE is one of the world leaders in advancing the cause of project-based learning. And if you've ever heard me speaking before at a town hall, you know that I'm a devotee of this method of teaching, where you engage students in learning through authentic and meaningful projects, and e-NABLE provides an awesome entry point into this work. And so I wrote just a brief blog about the connection between 3D printing and project-based learning. And as we see more and more schools getting 3D printers at their schools, but struggling to know exactly what to do with them beyond printing keychains and nameplates, once we find that an e-NABLE program starts at a school, we often see it's almost as if a switch gets flipped, and we see great potential for teachers to use 3D printing to have their students developing designs and designing solutions to different things, not just in the community, but also tying to their curriculum. So anybody who's interested can certainly find that blog posting on the Buck Institute for Education. A couple of weeks ago, we had an awesome article about our E3 STEAM program published in a periodical called Desktop Engineering, which was interesting because typically we see the E3 STEAM being showing up in education journals and on education websites. This is an actual engineering website that just acknowledged the value of a 3D printed prosthetic program at a school for exciting students and getting them passionate about real-life problem solving. Last but not least, on Monday I will be flying to Mountain Valley, California, where my son Max and I have been invited to present at the Google I/O conference. We're going to be there on Monday to kind of get settled. Tuesday there's an I/O youth conference where they will have students from Silicon Valley coming, and we are one of a few presenters who are going to talk to them just about the value of design and authentic design, and then certainly the value of bringing an e-NABLE program to schools. And then we'll also have a chance to attend the actual Google I/O conference as well. So that's a real laundry list of things that are going on in the education side of things, and specifically at my school too. But I find oftentimes for teachers that are struggling a little bit to know exactly what else to do besides building hands, hopefully that was informative. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. That was a lot, and that was really interesting. We will provide links to a lot of that information in the minutes. Rich, if you could send me some of the links to the stuff, I'll make sure that that gets included. And we will move over to Joe Fairley, who sets up and runs the post-secondary college chapters.
Thanks, Justine. So right now there's a couple of things going on within the chapters. First off, our normal biweekly meetings around the Wednesday time are going to slightly change within the next couple of weeks. We're trying to find, so it has been looking for those times. Look for to show you again what time will be best to get everyone together. Currently, right now at the Merrimack College chapter, as I'm going to be graduating next week, we're trying to switch over some roles within a couple of the leadership roles in that chapter. One cool thing that we are trying to experiment with right now in the last couple days here is some new flexible filament from Ninja Tech. So this was a start of a print from the one of the Flexi Hand designs. And unfortunately, I believe we were printing a little bit too hot, and it didn't quite print all the way. Only got about a quarter of the way there. This is the Cheetah filament from Ninja Tech. So we're beta testing it for them to see what kind of capabilities it could have. As you can see, it has a pretty resistant but very flexible characteristic to it. So just looking for other options and seeing how we can better the hand designs. One presentation that I will be giving tonight is regarding the follow-up program that I have been in the background starting to beta test at Merrimack College as well. The follow-up program being a continual relationship between the chapters and the recipients to make sure that those recipients are getting the best care that they can. Tonight I'll be giving a presentation on my whole capstone throughout the year that I was at Merrimack that is specifically looking at one of my adult recipients and seeing over the course of a 4-month physical assessment, start to finish how he was able to use the hand in different ways. I've given him 3 different hand designs so far, so we've seen some progression through that. Hopefully I'll be having a video of that taken during my presentation tonight. So I will try to have a link for you guys later for that. The follow-up program is definitely something that I'll be trying to get more information out there soon as far as how we can try to start implementing it in other chapters. I'm just trying to get more information from the recipients and seeing what they would like to see as in terms of follow-up care from the time that they receive a hand. So definitely be looking for more documents and more information on that. Again, looking towards next week, hopefully, to have a chapters meeting with the chapter representatives that are currently out there. To give a brief update, right now we have about 16 that are active. There are about 7 others that we know about but haven't been coming to the meeting so far. So we're definitely adding more on each week, which is nice. Trying to get more interaction from the chapter leaders is something that I'm working on as well. Trying to see what kinds of things they would want from being a chapter. So that's a little bit about what we're working on this week and next week.
Thank you very much. I'm definitely, and I think other people in the community are definitely going to be interested in the information from your capstone project. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that, and maybe next week or the week after you'll be able to update us on how that went. So shifting from education to R&D, I am going to first pass this over to Skip, who's got some stuff to show and talk about, and I think he's going to even attempt to do a demonstration live, which, there you go.
Oh, thank you, Justine. As many of you know, we've been taking advantage of printing flat and then thermoforming parts rather than printing archways and domes, and we can make stronger parts that way. There are a lot of designs that have taken advantage of this. One of them is the unlimited arm, where the forearm is actually printed flat and thermoformed, and It's been a very successful design. But there's a problem. If you make something large enough to fit anybody older than 6 years old, you might have a part that's too large to fit on your printer bed. So what can you do about that? I've been trying to solve that problem for a year and a half, and our friends Drew Murray and Stephen Davies came up with a great solution. So they can now make this arm as large as they want to by fitting parts together. They snap together, and they were using glue to make sure they don't come unsnapped. Then soon after that, John Diamond had a variation on that. So there's lots of ideas for ways to fit things together and make large things that don't fit on the printer bed. And I love John Diamond's idea, and I tried it out on one of our arms. This is actually two pieces joined together here using John Diamond's joint fitting. And I used my free doodler, a 3D printing pen, to print out some melted filament to make sure that those two parts stuck together permanently. And then I thermoformed them. And I got to thinking about that a little bit and decided that, you know, you don't necessarily have to have a 3D doodler or some way to add melted plastic. You could print a little bump on the pieces, and I don't know if you can see that. Justine, you said you might be able to show some pictures of the CAD design. I used Tinkercad.
Right, let me see what I can do to bring that up. Keep going while I bring it up.
Oh, okay.
Skip. It's going to take me some minute.
At any rate, here's the part that's held together with these like teeth of a comb, and it's got little bumps that can be, if you can zoom in on that one picture way over on the left, I think the little bumps will show up.
Which one? The one that's, can you see the screen?
The two rectangular pieces with like two teeth of a comb. If you zoom in on that, I think maybe they'll be able to see the little bumps that I'm going to be heating up with a soldering iron and melting together. And so to switch back to me,
okay.
I'm doing this real time, and it's always dangerous to do that. I use a little piece of leather cut off the end of a belt to smush down parts. If you're making filament into a rivet and you use a soldering iron to make a little head on the rivet, a good way to clean that up is with a little piece of leather that you can push down on it.
There you go. That's better. Now we can see.
So this design that I just published, and I think Justine's got a link that she can make available. I'll also put it on to the Google Plus R&D community.
Yes, I've included a link to this in the notes and minutes for this hangout.
Great. So what I'm doing is actually melting these little joining parts together. So they're permanently in one solid piece that is twice as big as will fit on our 3D printer bed. And so this is solving a great problem for us who've been experimenting with arms. So let's see if I can, oh, let me show you what the soldering iron looks like, by the way. I took a $3 soldering iron from somewhere like Harbor Freight and clipped the pointy end off of it. It's made of copper, so you can use an anvil or a vise and as something to hammer against. And you can hammer it into like a screwdriver blade kind of a surface, and that's better for doing jobs like this. Here it is, all welded together. And over here, I have a electric frying pan with some boiling water in it, and this is PLA. And if you put PLA into hot water, it softens. And you can actually handle it with your fingers if you're real careful. It gets to be about like leather, actually. And you can form it into a shape, like I'm making a sort of a cone shape to fit the arm designs that we've been using. We call this the modular training arm. See how this is going together. And if it doesn't come out perfect, I can reheat it and tweak the shape. So in about 15 more seconds, this is going to be one solid piece of plastic. And if you're using other materials other than PLA, you can still thermoform them, but you'll have to use a heat gun and protective gloves. Leather gloves, what I prefer. You can use a heat gun, like you strip the paint off the floor with, or you can use a toaster oven. I've done that. And you set the oven to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit and watch for the material to start drooping between the grating in the oven, and you know it's ready. Pull it out with some tweezers, wearing gloves, and you can form it into this shape. So that's all there is to it. We can make parts larger than will fit on the printer, and you can see that the joint came out pretty good looking. So there's an arm, and that's all there is to it.
That's fabulous. I don't see any questions on anything. Very briefly, I'll bring back up the picture that shows what this looks like before it's put together. We'll go back over to Skip. Joe's just asking how hot the water has to be in order to do that.
I usually boil it, and then you can turn it off. It'll cool down pretty fast, but the glass transition temperature for PLA is something about the temperature of hot coffee. And that's a blessing and a curse. If you're in a hot environment, your fabricated parts may change shape on you, just for the same business of reaching the glass transition temperature and turning it into kind of a leathery, movable.
Yes, we have heard of that happening in a hot car.
Yes, indeed. So it's nice that we can do it also with ABS and PETG and some other kinds of plastics that we're enjoying learning to use. But you have to be real careful, and of course when you're heating these things up, they may let off fumes, and it's good to have a lot of ventilation. Do it out in the fresh air if you can.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving on, we're going to go staying with R&D for the moment. We're going to move over to Peter Binkley, who's got some information about the ARM design that he talked about 2 weeks ago at Town Hall. Peter, are you ready? You're muted still.
Yeah, now I'm ready. Let's see. Let me do a screen share here. I actually wanted to show you a couple things. My screen share is not working. Hold on a second.
It's a day of Google Gremlins, I got to tell you.
Oh, phooey.
That's okay. Take your time.
Let's see here. Come on. Wow, when I was muted, it was letting me do it. Let me mute myself and try.
Okay. We'll see if we can get that sorted out. If not, are they photos or files? Because if you send it to me, I can share it for you.
Well, I wanted to show you what the design looks like in Blender.
Oh.
Because I'm kind of generating 3D printable files. I can show you what part of it looks like printed now.
Okay.
So let me do that. Um, so last week I had it was blue. This week this is all in PLA, and I guess last week you saw that the ball could snap out of the socket. Well, right now I've got there's a little screw in there. That's just a long number 6 screw. It's like 1.5 inches, and then a washer on one side, and then this little arm here is on the other side. And what this does, I think you saw last week, is now that the arm is open, this thing is free to move in various different directions. And when you close this flap, then it doesn't move anymore. So that's progress. This little pin here is not breaking anymore. I changed it so that it doubles back on itself, and it's much stronger now. I think that the next thing to do for this will be to make the ball actually printed in a flexible material, because PLA does not generate very much tack. So even when I do tighten this down, I can still move it some, and so I can try tightening the screw more. But really, I think the whole thing would work much better if this ball were printed in a flexible material. Then it'll behave a little bit more like rubber, and then when the thing is tensioned on, it'll just generate a lot more friction than it does now. So that's progress. This is just half the arm. I really wish I could screen share, because I could show you the other half, which well, you really have to see it for me to describe it.
Peter, I have a question for you before you go on. With the flexible material, have you tried something like TPU or something? Would that work?
I have not yet. The only TPU that I know that's available is made by SaneSmart, and it's available in 1.75 millimeter and not 3 millimeter. So I think I'd like to work with something that has a little bit broader availability.
Yeah. No, I understand.
But so far so good.
He's not here. Dean Rock, who is going to be joining us and still might, he is sending me a sample of another material, which I'll try and find it in his email, which is flexible like that, which might work for you. I'm not sure. It's apparently very strong. And I don't know what widths it comes, what the diameters are. But let me see, while you're talking, I'm going to see if I can find that information, and I'll either tell you or I'll share it with you, or maybe that might help. Okay, anyway, I'm sorry, go on.
I'd like for it to be something that can be printed on a vanilla grade Ultimaker 2, okay, which is challenging because that doesn't really lend itself very well to flexible filament. But I do believe there's a filament that is more rigid before you print it, because of how it's how the molecules are aligned. But then when you melt it, it disrupts that, and everything gets mushy again. Okay, Joe clearly says he's using Cheetah with UM2. So okay, cool. And I may end up printing the ball slightly larger than this one is too, just because in a flexible filament it's going to it'll squeeze down a little bit more. So that's progress. I think what I'll do is open this up on the e-NABLE forum, and I'll when I do that, I'll cross post on the Google Plus community. So if you do want to get involved in the Arm of Hearts project, watch the Google Plus page, and I'll post on both, and that'll lead you over to the beta testing in the forums. But that's unless I can screen share, which it appears I can't. Oh wait, I got it. Wait.
You got it. Yay!
Okay, here we go. All right. Now I'm excited. So actually, the first thing I wanted to show you is something I've been working on all week. Okay, I'm just in Google, and I'm gonna. Do you see my screen?
We do.
Okay. So you can just Google Osprey hand, and the first hit will be the Thingiverse page. So let's just start there. All right. So here it is, and you can see all the. I'll go look at the thing files, but what I want to show you is y'all know Sander at Ultimaker. He asked me to add some pictures to the instructions document. So I went to Thingiverse, and then there's instructions here, which opens up the new and improved Osprey hand assembly instructions. And let me just walk through it a little bit. Step 1 is to determine print scale, and if you will recall, I have a playlist that will guide you through the process, starting with the taking of client photos. So with a camera and a roller, you take client photos, and then it takes you through the process of importing those into Blender, giving you a little Blender tutorial to get you so that if you're a total beginner, you can still do this. And then at the end of this series, you are able to determine the proper print scale for a user based on measurements. So I've added photos here. So here are the tools that you would need to build an Osprey or a Gamma Raptor, and I should say that the Talon hand and the Odie hand have also been brought into this methodology, or this sort of paradigm. Everything now is Bowden style heavy gauge monofilament cables. So anyway, these are the list of the tools that you'll need, and then here's a small build kit. And then here's the nylon monofilament and the 2 pieces of leather and the closed cell foam, the screws, and then here's the sourced bill of materials for the small build kit. And then here's a medium build kit for these print scales for 125 to 140, and then for like a big guy, you'd go 145 to 165, and this is the hardware that you would want for that particular sized kit. And I just go through the steps here: print settings, and then suggested order of printing, which is to print the palm. And then Peregrine invented this awesome gapping key. I don't know. Some of you may be aware that the Osprey has different pin and proximal sets for the management of mechanical tolerances, so that you don't have, at large scales, you've got proximals that are really wobbly and you've got a noisy device, or at small scales, everything's too tight and doesn't fit properly, or also based on your printer settings or printer material. So what this is it's a 4-ended key with A, B, C, and D, which is actually just the proximal end of the proximal phalanx. And you test it, and A is probably going to be too wobbly, and D is probably not even going to slide in there. But somewhere in there, you're going to find something that works with your particular print settings. And it's really simple to use and pretty brilliant, because it bypasses all guesswork. What you do is you print the parts, and then whatever printing variables might have come into play. Well, here you've got a final product that's going to behave the same way that a printed proximal phalanx is going to fit. So if you select a C, like this one is a C, you can see. So this C set of proximals is the one that you would print for this, and then you'd also print the C pins. The only exception being that if you're printing in a hard material like PLA, you may want to get a looser set of pins. So I say here, for example, C proximals and B pins. I think John Diamond ran into that with PLA, that the pins were actually, because they were not, because the material was so hard, they were not inserting properly. But anyway, then I just go through the process of removing support material. And there are links in this document to the to videos. These are YouTube videos where I go into in some depth the different techniques. And here's just removing the noodles from inside the channels. And then some reaming standards, reaming out the holes, using tape to make a block so you don't over drill, right? Because you don't want to drill all the way through when you widen those holes so that the screws don't tear the holes, right? So when you're done, they'll all fit in nicely. And also cabling the distal phalanges and snapping the pins in. So I've tried to be fairly detailed and take the guesswork out of the process. But again, you know, there are these instructions and photos, and then there are also videos interspersed, like installing the leather palm here. That'll link you to a YouTube video where I'll pretty much describe it in fair detail and show you how to do it. And then here's making the leather bracer. And also there's also a video for this, but this should just make it easier for people to assemble the device. And of course, there's a picture of Peregrine with his version of the Osprey. It's a little different. So just wanted to share that with you. I spent the last week on it. But let's look at the arm design again. So this is the arm, the printable segments. Okay, so the proximal section of the forearm is printable. I do need to add a little bit more support material. It prints okay now, but I think I can add some extra supports and make it print better. And then these are the actual balls that will go in the socket. So you know, this is just kind of for testing purposes, but this takes an M10. Yeah, it's an M10 bolt or a threaded rod and a nut, if you like. And in this one, the M10 actually will bite into the plastic, so you can actually screw the ball right onto the M10 threaded rod. That is on a International Red Cross standard socket, which ends in this just an M10 threaded rod. Now I have not. This one is not ready for printing yet, but what I'll need to do, let me show you. It's actually oriented for printing. It'll be turned, so you can kind of see what I'm thinking, so that the gap where the heart is actually oriented vertically, right? So that when it prints, it won't. You won't have to have any support material inside the heart. So you can kind of see what I had in mind. And assembling this in two parts has really two purposes. One is so that I can orient the heart cutout for good printing, so you don't get a disaster. Really, is what you'd end up with, and also so that you can print a much larger forearm on a fairly small print bed. Like for example, if you printed an arm for me, then that's 12 inches from pretty much where my wrist starts to where my elbow ends, and not many people have a 12-inch print bed, but if you print it in two pieces, you'll just be able to get a lot more out of it. So that's progress. Available for download and printing and use and testing are all of these components and the three the three elbow balls. So if you're interested, there'll be a project in the forums coming up, and then once we iron out some of the details on that section, then we'll be printing the distal part of the forearm and the wrist ball. And what I've got here, I got some suggestions. This is from Skip, a quick connect, which I may be able to set up to attach to the wrist ball, so that the terminal device is something that can be swapped out. And then Ivan Owen actually suggested this, which is something to do with a lathe, able to switch out tools on a lathe. So anyway, he gave me these, and just this. There's this little spindle here that turns and pushes a pin that locks this block in place. So it's just a quick way to probably get, I imagine, a very robust connection between an arm and a terminal device. I'm sort of digressing, but my point is that I'm open to all kinds of suggestions. I'm not possessive about this work. I really want people to, take these designs and run. Run as quickly as your passion will carry you, or as slowly as your wisdom will guide you. But please get involved. I think we can help a lot of people with this. So that's my report for this week.
Okay, thank you very much. We've got a lot of lathes here in our house, so I'll have to ask John. We're a big lathe family. While you were talking, Dean did put a post that what I was talking about was a filament called Tallman 910, but it's only flexible in very thin forms, so that probably wouldn't work for you. He said TPU is more flexible. And then John pointed out that Wolfbend TPU is available in 2.85 millimeter for the Ultimaker. So I don't know if you want to look into that. I don't know how relevant it would be, but there's that. So I guess Dean couldn't join us. I am hoping that we'll be able to get him in next week. He's been doing some pretty cool stuff with working with the grip on hands, and as well some stuff he's working on with Rotary, a group in Rotary who are working in the Dominican Republic, where there's some interest and some opportunities. And on the international front, I think we'll have more on that next week, but on the international front for right now, I'm going to pass the mic over to Eleanor Meeks, who's going to talk about our Haiti program and the Haiti project.
Hi, it's nice to be here. I'm happy to report on exciting developments with the project, Enable International Haiti. After a very interesting year with lots of twists and turns and pivots, since we initially got our grant to introduce prosthetics to Haiti, we are now looking at the end of the month when we will be teaching a course at a premier clinic, prosthetics and rehabilitation clinic in Port-au-Prince. We're happy to have Joe on our team to do that, along with a representative of the Victoria Hand Project, which is a really interesting group out in Canada that has been doing some really important work in 3D printing prosthetics in developing world settings. So Joe and Josh of VHP will be our instructors. We will be teaching a group of maybe 12 to 15 recently certified prosthetists and prosthetic techs in basic 3D printing technology, and then of course specifically e-NABLE and Victoria Hand Project designs, which will then be fitted on a test group of patients. And then after the course, we have plans to try to sustain the operation through what we're calling internships and externships, both within the clinic, that particular clinic, and another partner clinic on the west coast of the country in an area near Jeremy, where we have a wonderful partner clinic called Friends for Health in Haiti, run by Dr. Wolf. The Port-au-Prince clinic is called Healing Hands of Haiti, and we're excited. That's the basic framework of it. And Joe, what am I forgetting? Importantly, we are very happy to have Ultimaker helping us, both with hardware and support. Really, it's a tremendous contribution. Again, for those of you who don't know, this is a project that has been made possible by a grant from an organization called the Genesis Generation Challenge, and we're excited. Joe, feel free to jump in if I'm forgetting anything important, or Peter.
It is a very exciting thing. You got something, Joe?
I was just going to say she hit the nail on the head with everything. Really excited to be a part of the training process. It should be a really great outcome. We're looking forward to really push the 3D printing and the e-NABLE technologies and Victoria Hand technologies out there. So excited to be partnered with Ultimaker as well.
I should also say that Peter was very helpful in a slightly previous stage of the project with helping frame out some of the curriculum and talking about some of the design issues. So we're grateful that we were able to build on that too.
Okay. We are just at 1 o'clock. We have done this. We had a lot to do. We've done it in exactly the time frame we're supposed to. I don't have any additional questions. Next week, I already have quite a number of people lined up to come in. I'm hoping we'll be able to get Dean in so he can show everyone this hand that he's working on. I am hoping I'm having some educators in who are doing some really good things, and a group from Google in New York who are also doing some work. So something to look forward to for next week. If there are things I should be aware of, please let me know. I haven't heard a lot from people who are interested in presenting stuff, but there is a lot of stuff that gets put in the community that I go after. So until then, we'll all see you all next week, and happy printing. Bye-bye, everybody.